Sanguine, however, have to play against NRG in the final set of the day. This one, totally NRG versus Sanguine. Important for NRG to find the 2-0 here to make sure they both go above Enix.
That's correct. If they get that 2-game victory, they'll have 3 points, and that'll put them at 12, 1 point above Enix. Very important set for NRG. Sanguine, this doesn't really matter for them whether or not they get 3 points.
It does matter. They need a win.
A little bit of momentum. You think that'll get them momentum? Well, actually, it would. Beating a team like NRG, yeah, that will give you some serious momentum, at least facing the Challenger Cup team.
But the question is, can Sanguine, who've not found a single win so far, go against the world champion still now?
That's a tough
and
task.
Find a win.
That is a tough task for one team to do.
NRG
have been getting better and better as the split progresses.
Birthday treat for them if they do manage to find that win. Talking about birthdays, Smite's birthday. See that segue? I'm amazing. Third birthday of Smite is here. Plenty of sales, events, and more going on at the moment. I believe it's double everything weekend this weekend. So make sure you play get all your worshippers together and the team boosters and try and get some of those gods to diamond.
I know what I'm doing after the cast. Going straight in, getting my double rewards, my double worshippers, getting multiple diamond gods, you know.
Totally going straight in. However, on top of that, we also have a sale from Hitpoint as well. Smite.hitpoint.tv at the moment. 15% off all the paraphernalia they'll do there for you. They have lots of things available for you to purchase. Hats, t-shirts, even things like plushies like Fenrir as well.
That's a pretty one, actually. They also do the Bologna statue, if I'm not mistaken. That one is
If you want a fancy statue, head over there as well. But it's time now to move on to our final set of the day. It's T&T. Tom and Taco are standing by to bring you the world champions versus the bottom of Europe, Sanguine.
Well, somebody's getting blown up today. It's NRG versus Sanguine. Sanguine, of course, have the first pick, and of course, they have 0 wins. Sanguine need to find themselves with 2 here if they want to throw a cog in anybody's wheel. And NRG, well, they haven't been #1 throughout the course of the split. They've looked like they've had some struggles, Taco, but do you think Sanguine's going to be a struggle for them?
I mean, it's like Toli and Hindi mentioned on the desk. NRG are only a team that's been getting stronger as the split progresses. So whether or not Sanguine are able to find a victory, that's completely up in the air at this point in time.
Terra's the first pick. Susano's going to follow up. That'll likely be for adapting, although we'll keep that open. We have seen a little bit of Susano flex, though he's definitely a jungler at heart. And the Poseidon will be selected here. It's weird to see a mid lane mage be selected for Yammyn, in all honesty.
You would think so, but at the same time, you never know what NRG are going to do. I mean, Emil isn't exactly foreign to mages in the duo lane, and Poseidon's something we've seen European hunters pull out before. Cough, cough, fumballer.
Yep.
So I wouldn't expect that, of course, but you just can never really know what to expect at the same time with NRG.
Yeah, they're constantly trying new things. Skadi and Kumbhakarna will be selected over there for Sanguine. Skadi will be likely the hunter of choice for MikeTheMagikarp, recently shifting out of the jungle into the hunter role, allowing Nika, the captain, to really work his stuff in that jungle. Odin, banned out by NRG, alongside their Ratatasker, and Sanguine. They don't want to see no Xing Chen. They've got one more ban, and I love the fact that teams are banning Hunbats nice and early these days. I think that he's just, that god, he just brings too much.
He's got such a strong win percentage as well in the split. So there's no reason to permit somebody like adapting, of all people, to just be able to play a god as effective as bots.
For sure.
And on top of that, I really like the draft from Sanguine. If you're going to try and pick up your first victory in the SPL against, a 2-time world champion team,
you pick Zhong Kui.
You pick Zhong Kui.
We call that caster's curse. So the Thanatos into Poseidon kind of winds up being troublesome. You land down and Poseidon just punishes you by cracketing right away. The Zhong Kui is an interesting pick, but at the end of the day, although he's not #1, although he's not quite meta, I like the decision to go to something interesting and see if the alternative approach works out, because, well, the really weird hasn't worked out. Shouts to Geb Jungle. And the really standard hasn't worked out. So find somewhere right in the middle, and that's kind of where Zhong Kui sits. NRG's got an interesting draft of their own, and we'll step into game #1 as NRG, the defending world champions, take on Sanguine, a team that has had their struggles. MikeTheMagikarp will be playing on this Skadi, and it's going to be Nika on the jungle Thanatos. And Mr. Stefan, who has been one of the brighter points, I think, for Sanguine. I've really liked watching Mr. Stefan. I've lovingly called him Mr. Sanguine sometimes. He's just the only guy doing it.
My biggest gripe about Sanguine picking up that Zhong is the fact that they have a Kumbhakarna. When you pick Kumbhakarna, he has like such a massively long mez because it's set up for a burst.
Yeah, Mr. Stefan.
Zhong isn't your burst. Like
That's very
he
true.
does a ton of damage now, but that's not. It's not the Kraken or the raw snipe. It gives them a chance to wake up and run away.
It's like picking the Naja without the response. You have one start of the combo and the follow-up not there. So we're gonna keep an eye on Sanguine and see if their strategy is adjusted. It's not gonna be Nika coming down from the sky into some setup right there. It's gonna be the situation where Mr. Stefan actually finds a little bit more of the damage himself. And actually a little bit of a clarification. DeathPanter is going to be playing on the Terra instead of the
Kumbhakarna.
So our apologies here, and we'll fix that in the future. But for now, it's going to be DeathPanter on the Terra. Everything else seems to be aligned here. And NRG starting things off quick by bringing DeathPanter down to about 75%.
That is a bit relieving, though, to see that it wasn't actually a Kumbhakarna like we were led on, but I love getting baited. Sometimes it's just a little bit of a masturbate.
So iRaffer here on the Crocodile here next to emilitoo on the Chronos. Been a long time since we've seen Chronos be really played out. How are you feeling about this character? He's had some changes, and of course, rocking the namesake skin of NRG themselves.
I mean, what better time to display your org skin than picking the Chronos up right away? And emilitoo's really much established a trademark name with this Chronos. I mean, he's the reason why the god got nerfed pretty much.
I mean,
he's a large. He attributed pretty heavily to that.
I don't know by himself, but I think we'll see how that one works out. But Chronos certainly not as strong as he used to be. One of the bigger changes here is that he lost the Fatalis effect on his accelerate. He no longer, well, now he does have a movement penalty when he basics, but he still crunches towers. He still time stop, and his first ability is still going to destroy you. And those basics, when activated in the 4th quadrant of the passive, are still going to be devastating when it comes to damage. Unfortunately, not level 5 yet. Doesn't have the free life. emilitoo body blocks coming out of DeathPanter are perfect, but can MikeTheMagikarp secure the deal? He's going deep here, chasing all the way to tier 2, and just decides to turn around.
The Kaldar wanted it and nearly had Emil there a little bit longer, and that dog was probably going to pick up the first blood.
Yeah, just unfortunately not there just yet. I do like the fact that Sanguine noticed that they were getting a little bit thirsty and backed off. I think that's troublesome for some of the lower-end teams when they face off against a behemoth like NRG. You get very excited and you want to find that kill. I think a lot of times you can actually find some players diving that tier 2, right? And winding up dying instead of actually finding the kill. Instead, Sanguine go very deep, but they do pull back and not going to be in a bad spot just yet. DeathDodo playing on the Guardian. Not the greatest of seasons for him. Formerly a mid laner, as we saw in Season 3, now shifting over to the solo lane. And he's got to go up against Dimi, who is one of the stronger players here, but Nika making the rotation.
Nika's, he's trying to lurk around the corner and catch Dimi a little bit off guard, but I already like the discipline that Sanguine have been displaying, even though it's super early on into the game. A much earlier version of Sanguine, they probably would have Nika would have just tried to dive in there right away. I really wouldn't have expected him to not want to go in immediately onto Dimi.
It's been a process as Yammyn gets stunned out by DeathPanter's wall collapse. It's been a process for Sanguine here, really coming together and trying to find some sort of footing. As we've mentioned, not really been their season. Poor Captain Nika here has had to switch positions twice if you count the transition from the solo lane over to the Hunter, which is his natural position. Solo lane played last year, started this year in the Hunter role, and now having to take the reins of jungle away from Get Fisher over there in the jungle himself. And Sanguine have really struggled to really find something. As an analyst, just sit back and what if you were coach for Sanguine, what would be the first thing that you really look at to improve as a unit?
For the most part, it's just not being greedy. A lot of times that we've seen Sanguine start fighting back into teams when they're in the downfall or downslide of the game. They just overcommit a lot of the times. And for instance, that emilitoo back off is a primary example. You know, MikeTheMagikarp would have normally tried to pursue that. Like, that's the MikeTheMagikarp we're all familiar and know and love. And instead, he chooses to run away. And that's exactly what you need to do in these kind of circumstances.
Well, we certainly know MikeTheMagikarp. And then over there on the right side, like you said, Nika might have just jumped into the solo lane earlier on, and you know, showing signs of a little bit of learning, at least in that regard, for discipline here. Sanguine, of course, I think it's a little bit too late in this split. They certainly have to be looking towards the whole relegation process and how that's going to go. They'll be fighting up against some of the teams from the Challenger circuit. Reminder on how that one works. We've got our Pro League teams here, the top 8 teams in the world, theoretically. And then right beneath it, we have a smaller league that consists of some of the second-tier teams. And those teams just had some of their finals, and they'll be battling it out against the teams that wind up here in the gauntlet. And then, of course, the amateur version is the open bracket. Anybody can join, and you climb that route into the Challenger circuit, and that's how you make it into the Smite Pro League. So as the split comes to a close here in week number 6, we'll start to be talking about the shifting and seeing some of these teams move around. DeathPanter is going to be moved around a little bit thanks to the jungle, and they're going to be moving on top of him. Tornado comes out. Not enough to secure the kill, however. And DeathPanter is able to walk away, no problem.
That could have been really, really bad for DeathPanter, just unfortunately dashing straight through the stun by emilitoo, and because of that, it nearly cost him his life. But MikeTheMagikarp with a perfect Skadi ult to just deter adapting from trying to pursue that kill.
Really well done by Mike over here, just making it happen and making sure not to, a lot of times, especially when you're a hunter, a lot of times as a carry, you don't want to burn your ultimate defensively, whether you're in the jungle or in the hunter role. But right there, that's absolutely one of those situations where you got to save your teammate by using the ultimate. You might lose that opportunity later to use it for a kill, but right now, DeathPanter walks away. Still no first blood on the board as we ding 7 minutes in. NRG do find themselves up a fair amount, still short of 1,000, however. Nice attention on the left side as Nika gets caught out. He'll have to ultimate underneath the tower one more time. Defensive ult.
And 3 ultimates now burned out on the side of Sanguine. And NRG, as we all are aware of, they're not necessarily the most aggressive team at the initial starting point of a game, but they're certainly not a team who won't take advantage of situations. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them just go for some kind of slime grouping up in the jungle and just pick off either MikeTheMagikarp or Mr. Stefan, because they're both on fairly immobile characters in this duo and mid lane.
When it comes down to NRG, they absolutely know their power spikes. The game has changed, so we don't see the same thing out of NRG, but last season, down to a stopwatch. 16 minutes in, Taco, we would see NRG make their plays almost every time like clockwork, and it got to the point where the enemy teams understood that they were going to get aggressed on at 16, and they would still lose the ensuing team fight just because NRG's power and presence and the mentality that comes out. They understand that they're going to rip something out of their playbook and they're going to play something that they've planned and practiced beforehand. So these days, Season 4, a little bit more of a dynamic meta. You can't really just track the jungle routes any longer. A lot of different stories coming through, but NRG still have that mindset of knowing and understanding their power spikes when they're more successful there than their opposition. And like you said, kind of just lying in wait for their moment and then striking like a cobra.
And for Sanguine too, this could be such a pivotal set for them, because not only did they just recently swap around putting Nika into that jungle role and then MikeTheMagikarp onto the hunter, but they haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to really practice this new role swap.
Sure.
So going off against a team like NRG can really show you just how well this is going to work in the long run.
Nice wall on the right side coming out from DeathDodo. Ultimately won't amount in much. Dimi still very comfortable, but what could have been had there been more presence on the right side. Instead, Sanguine are stacked up there in the mid lane because they have to mirror what NRG are doing. You're getting that classic 3-on-3.
Sanguine do have a little bit more early game presence than what NRG do, considering that they have the Ymir, Thanatos, Skadi. Those are very strong early game gods. And for Sanguine, the biggest thing that they should be looking for is not overcommitting, but just a little bit more aggression.
Well, right now, here's the aggression out of NRG. Kraken comes out of Yammyn, and DeathDodo rotates just to find himself dead. First blood going to NRG.
And that's just the classic scenario of walking into the wrong neighborhood as an Ymir of all gods, not necessarily the greatest pathing by DeathDodo, and just immediately punished for it.
What was that rotation looking for? In all honesty, I just don't know why there was a Ymir in that lane.
I think he was just trying to follow Dimi to a certain extent around the jungle.
Dimi's in the lane!
He had started like maneuvering towards the mid lane
so he took the bait.
aspect. He took the bait entirely.
A lot of times you'll see players do that, where they dip into the jungle, hide behind a rock, and then come right back into the lane. They're not accomplishing anything as NRG pick up the first portal demon of the game 20 seconds after it spawns. But the idea is just, I'm off of your radar, I'm off of your map, and now you don't understand where I am. Did I make that full rotation, or am I just clearing a buff, or am I just sitting on my hands behind a rock, right? Right there, you see DeathDodo take the bait to the nth degree, travels all the way over the mid lane where everybody in NRG are waiting. 2,000 golds in the lead, nice and early, as NRG, again, understand the opportunities that they have and go right for it.
This is risky.
Yammyn doesn't have Crack It Up yet, so that's the window you want to look for if you're Sanguine. You want to look for the abilities to be down on the side of NRG. They make it, but they don't commit, and now they have to run away. Yammyn's ultimate comes up, doesn't really hit much of anybody, but adapting is going to look for Mr. Stefan. Ultimate out of the mid laner saves him. Tanky Zhong gets away, but MikeTheMagikarp can't say the same thing. Nika comes down a little bit early, no execute for him. There's a toss out by emilitoo. He'll use his ultimate just to join up his team, and the rest of it will be done. One death on the side of Sanguine to join the first blood brings 2 to NRG in total, and they're starting this one off rather quickly, almost 3K in the lead, nice and early.
But with all the ultimates expended on both sides, that's just going to be free jungle invades for NRG, immediately sieging up that jungle buff. And we know adapting, and there's nothing he loves more than a speed buff.
Absolutely.
And
he absolutely needs it.
He actually wasn't the one that picked it up. He just wandered over there, just looking for any kind of farm, but he'll happily secure his own.
Goes to emilitoo. He likes to go fast. Chronos absolutely wants to go fast as well. It's interesting as we see the Bancroft come out. Bancroft's talent is one of a couple of options for mages when you're looking for power. You're generally talking about Doom Orb to a lesser extent, but you're looking mainly at Book of Thoth and then the Bancroft. Bancroft usually comes out specifically because mid laners want to get their power spikes started sooner. Thoth is a more expensive item, as most of the other power items. But on the Chronos, the lifesteal is actually very relevant, being as you're basic attacking a lot of the time. And your basic attack, since they're single target as opposed to the AoE damage that most mages have, doesn't suffer from that 33% coefficient that most of the magical lifesteal actually suffers from. So emilitoo is going to get his power spike from here, nice 100 power, plus if he's lower HP, but also the fact that he's going to get that lifesteal.
The interesting part to me, though, about this game so far is that NRG already have a 3K gold lead, and while they just now started committing to this gold fury, this has been a pretty slow bleed game by NRG. They're just really trying to drain Sanguine as much as possible and crack and drop.
They stole it! It doesn't matter! Sanguine, take away the gold fury! Hot damn! Nice play coming out from the blue team.
And the Kraken
just wasted.
I was so certain that the Kraken was going to secure it.
Me too. I mean, that's exactly what NRG thought as well. They waited until as soon as Yammyn's diamond turned blue, that's when the team made the rotation. They show up, and a rare misplay coming out from the boys on NRG. That's going to basically tie the game up. Sanguine's still down about 1,500, but that's a big play for Sanguine. That was slow bleed, like you said. 2,500 turns into 3,500 right there, and that's when NRG are poised to make their next play. Sanguine snatching that gold fury away, very, very big deal.
You already know that they're not very happy about that one, considering that it should have realistically been a pretty free secure, and there wasn't anybody who was properly in position on the side of Sanguine. It was just DeathPanter kind of,
oops,
he's casually walking over, and he's just like, oh, well, maybe I should, you know, contest this.
That's one of the benefits that NRG have here. One of the many benefits that NRG have here, specifically talking about their draft. You lamented the Zhong pick for good reason. And not only as Dimi kind of walks in a squad, Nika chunks him, Dodo with a wall, nice play, but the CC immunity avoids the freeze. Nicely done by the German solo laner. But when it comes down to it, your mid lane Zhong, not only does he lack that synergy that you were talking about, big stun into the damage out of the burst coming out from Nika there, but he doesn't have the burst for objective secure either. Dimi's ultimate's down, Nika tries take 2.
Dimi should be fine. He's got the boys
Friends.
on his back end, and I can't see Nika or DeathDodo really wanting to come much closer.
Not at all. You don't want to walk into all 5 members of NRG. But you'll walk into one. DeathDodo misses the wall, unfortunately for him and his team. So with Mr. Stefan not having the burst, just to clean up what we were saying before, NRG by default should get those objectives with a Kraken. But like I said, rare misstep. And NRG gonna suffer a little bit. Sanguine pick up their Gold Fury, but seems to still be going in NRG's direction here on 15 minutes. 2 kills in total, both of them with an energy stamp on top. And the Portal Demon's gonna spawn. Sanguine lying in wait.
They wanted it.
Looking for their own objective.
And MikeTheMagikarp, he wants a potential solo kill on emilitoo.
I don't know about this one. emilitoo's going to go ahead and ult, and Adapting's there in tow. Right side, Kraken's going to join the party as well, but MikeTheMagikarp being dove here underneath the tower. Ultimate out of the jungler, Adapting very low. emilitoo comes through, drops the Time Rift, and drops the Hunter as well. Portal Demon on the other side of the map does fall down, as does the Tier 1 tower here on left. And the Portal Demon taken by Sanguine. So Sanguine get their objective, but they lose their Hunter, and they lose their Hunter's tower over there. And Nika can't clean up the deal to take out emilitoo. After he's served up, he's stuck in the whirlpool. Can he get away? Kraken comes out. DeathPanter drops down a little bit of help. But iRaffer here gonna show up and take down the jungle 4-0 as NRG take the lead despite Sanguine's minor objective.
That is the worst situation possible as well. You see MikeTheMagikarp do almost a beautiful 2v1 outplay and just falling short to emilitoo securing his abilities onto the Hunter. But not only did he lose his tower, but then Nika rolls over there trying to see if he can make anything happen with Thanatos, because you'd imagine that Emil's going to die, but the jukes are just too strong, and iRaffer with the immediate backup, and instead, he's just gonna lose his jungler for it.
iRaffer tries to make another play in mid lane, doesn't grab Mr. Stefan, but it's enough to zone him out. We'll call it a zoning charge here, as NRG pick up another 500 gold for the mid lane tower. Easy. Just easy. That's the word. Everything that NRG has been able to do here has been easy, and it's not as if Sanguine are playing poorly. We've watched many games where Sanguine just plays flat out bad. This is less Sanguine playing poorly and more Sanguine just not doing anything.
There's really not much for them to do at this point in time, though. And again, I hate to harp on it, but I think a large portion of that just falls back onto the Zhong pick.
You think it's all the Zhong pick?
This just isn't the draft for a Zhonger. It doesn't feel like the draft for a Zhong. And Mr. Stefan, he's displayed so much skill and talent on so many different mids that I just can't really see the mindset behind a Zhong when you're looking for burst. If you're going with the Thanatos, you want the pickups, you want the executions coming through, but you can't do that with their current draft.
iRaffer gets stunned out by DeathPanter, and Mr. Stefan throws a card. If he's his famous Vulcan, knock up, backfire, turret gets dropped down, you drop the ultimate, maybe iRaffer, right? There's a whole lot of options here. I love Zhong. He is one of my favorite characters because of how much of an impact he can make in a draft. But unfortunately, this is the other side of the coin. He just doesn't fit here. And that's what it comes down to when it comes to niche characters is they're excellent in their spot, but they have to find their spot. And when you pick them out of position or you pick them in a draft that doesn't complement them is perhaps the better way to say my statement. It just, you wind up falling kind of flat here. Mr. Stefan, 0-0-0, 50 stacks on the Warlock sash. He's doing exactly what he should on the Zhong. And it doesn't really matter.
They just need to look more based around counter engages at this stage. And there's not really much of an opportunity for them to be the hard engage that you would imagine with an Ymir and a Terra, for instance.
Right.
But counter engage is definitely still possible. So really, if they're going to commit to this Zhong pick, they really just need to focus around AoE-based team fights in the jungle, if anything.
So one of the nice things that the Zhong pick, if we have to look at the other side, if we have to look at the other side, right, sunny side up, Nika building a defensive Thanatos, or at least looks like he wants to finish up this build. Not just yet. He brought up the Mark of the Vanguard, and then he built offensively, but perhaps he might build a tanky later on. You've got a tanky mid laner, your tanky solo laner, right? not a lot of targets for the Kraken to really delete. So there is that positive in that his immediate matchup there in the mid lane on Yammyn isn't going to be really affected by this burst Kraken. It's not going to hurt Mr. Stefan too much, and then they can continue fighting on, like you said, with the counter engage. So if I'm looking for why this Zhong really came out, that's really what I'm looking for, is just the fact that Sanguine are the tanky team and NRG don't have anything really to deal with that tankiness.
Until they hit that late game potential and emilitoo comes online.
That one's stolen the other way. Sanguine start the Gold Fury and NRG snatch it off their plate. Freeze coming out from DeathDodo, but it looks like NRG want to chase and Sanguine want to run. Adapting, chasing down the Freeze Man, and he's going to get stuck and melted. Yammyn with credit for that one thanks to the Whirlpool. Here comes the jungler, and iRaffer takes him down. 3rd kill in total for the support.
And I think that Sanguine might have just signed their own death warrant with that one. Because not only did they just give NRG the Gold Fury, but 2 picks as well, completely opening up the rest of the map. Portal Demons spawning at this stage of the game. iRaffer doesn't even care. He's like Fire Giant. But the rest of his team does care, and they say Portal Demon.
Wonder how often iRaffer gets yelled at in comms. Portal Demon goes down. NRG gets credit for that one. And let it be known, I loved the Gold Fury call coming out from Sanguine one more time. I'm sorry if the commentators sound like a broken record, but what it comes down to is really the Zhong pick has been detrimental to Sanguine. If that's a burst mage, that Gold Fury is free and clear. That's Sanguine's Gold Fury. And all of a sudden, what was it, 50,000? Now Sanguine cut the lead to about 2K. Instead, it goes the other way. NRG take the Gold Fury. Now they lead by 8,300. They pick up the Fire Giant and his son, and now they're tearing up the right side lane. No way Sanguine can defend this tier 2, and if they do, it's probably the wrong decision unless NRG just decide to back in lane.
I like how you called him, you know, Fire Giant Jr. there.
That's
cute. That's cute.
Son. Absolutely.
And man, NRG just looking absolutely scary in this stacked up solo lane side.
That's the thing here. Okay, scary on the right side of the map. I'll give that to you. I thought you meant the game in general because NRG aren't doing anything
devastating. No, they've been slow playing this. This has been a slow play. Complete slow play, but a 5-man strong FG NRG, that's not what you want to be facing up against.
Not at all. Neither here nor at the pool table. These guys are kind of nasty at that too. Both plays. NRG a little bit aggressive here. emilitoo going to avoid the stun the second time around, thanks to a nice use of the relic. And here's the invade one more time. Kraken comes out underneath MikeTheMagikarp, likely the only good target for it. Well done by Yammyn. Still not going to find the kill just yet. Dashing forward is DeathPanter to get a root, and Sanguine have done a good job keeping NRG at bay for now, but as soon as NRG decide to look out the window, they get their view. Dimi taking down DeathDodo. 5-on-4 here as the defending world champs take down the right side lane.
They could only hold them off of that T2 for so long, with the Terra ultimate having to be expended so early on, and then MikeTheMagikarp having to back off because of an excellent Kraken. Now DeathPanter is going to be falling, and MikeTheMagikarp could be next.
Yeah, emilitoo's on the chase. Without that Fatalis, however, he'll slink back just a little bit. Doesn't even have the Fatalis in his build. Went right for the Wing Blade after the power. MikeTheMagikarp, on the other hand, going to get dashed through by Susano. Adapting a fantastic play today, 2-0-6. Really setting up for his team and sharing a lot of the wealth is NRG here. Look at this. 6 out of the 9 plays from the solo lane. 8 out of the 9 plays from the jungle, 8 out of the 9 plays from the mid lane, 7 and 6 respectively for your support and your hunter. NRG are sharing the battlefield so well today.
And that's kind of what they do best, though, is they just know exactly how to group up as a team and just punish everything. Every little mistake, that's what NRG is known for capitalizing on. You can't mess up in the slightest, and half the time that teams end up falling to NRG, they don't even necessarily know what they did wrong. It's like we mentioned before, they hit that 16-minute, 17-minute mark in a game and just immediately turn on the gas pedals and crush.
And that's a perfect example of sometimes your mistake is not doing something. I maintain that Sanguine haven't played a terrible game here. They haven't really made too many missteps. Not too many players caught out of position. DeathDodo leading with 3 deaths, tied with MikeTheMagikarp, and we haven't really seen them get abused. It's the lack of aggression that NRG is punishing. Look, if you're going to be afraid of us, we're going to just take things from you. And Sanguine don't have the numbers to group up and deal with what NRG are doing. And so NRG aren't playing this massive destruction, destroy the opposition. They're just, oh, Sanguine didn't take this jungle camp, we'll do it. Oh, Sanguine didn't go for this objective, we'll do it. Oh, Sanguine's not in the mid lane, we'll do it, no problem.
But unfortunately for Sanguine, when they finally decided, hey, we are going to do something,
Oops.
They picked the Gold Fury, and NRG are more than happy to respond to that as well.
And again, Sanguine playing Vulcan, that's their Gold Fury. That's their Gold Fury.
And I think this time around, though, there won't be any sort of contest from Sanguine as that Gold Fury falls in all of 3 seconds. Wow.
17,000 gold lead here. 9-0 as NRG continuing their reign of terror. I think this is indicative of how much growth that NRG has had throughout the split. Now, yes, they won Worlds. We get it, folks. But if you watch week 1, NRG were still sleeping, I think. Week 2, kind of still sleeping. Week 3, they finally stopped hitting snooze, but we're still kind of sleepy-eyed. And as everything keeps continuing on, well, they started to wake up. And here in the 6th and final week, NRG kind of really turning it on. Like I said, granted, Sanguine not exactly their numero uno opponent, but I mean, this kind of lead without really bringing something particularly nasty to the table, you got to give them a high five.
It's all entirely calculated by NRG, and I mean...
The losses?
Yeah, because when they picked up their first win from the split, and Yammyn tweeted it out himself, he's like, calculator starts the season, we're on the board, boys.
Okay.
Like, that's all you need sometimes.
Well...
Just the one and done.
They still might, they still not top 2, you know, so a little miscalculation. I don't know. We'll see.
They're just pulling an eager.
Okay.
That's what it's called nowadays. They're 100% pulling the eager, waiting for the land stage, and then we'll see who comes out number 1.
I thought Sanguine was pulling an eager by picking a terrible mid laner in a very important spot. Oh, shots. That instead is going to be NRG coming down. I actually didn't mind that Anubis pick in game number 5, by the way. I think it was all about the bans and the fact that they let the classic jungle mid lane obey strategy come through. That's besides the point. As Adapting puts on the double digits, Yammyn puts down number 11, and NRG start walking into the throne room right here. Adapting gets another one, 4-0-7 for the Swedish jungler, and Yammyn picks up another one to seal the deal. NRG still having some fun here. They want to poke the players in the fountain. Nika in the sky sees the execute, and
oh my god!
Yep, NRG just cleaned it up. Bad luck 13.
The way you said that, by the way, also reminded me of like one of those disclaimers that you see on a commercial where like they go through all the positives of something, and then it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, this could also cause you like cancer, stage 5 heart attacks, and you know all these other sort of important things. I was like,
a little bit of a footnote, and the Sanguine wind up being a footnote in their own set. Unfortunately, 0-13. They try something new with the Zhong, doesn't quite work out. I like the idea of trying something new. Hell, I like Zhong. But there has to be a balance to everything. And,
time and place.
Yeah, it's sort of like by tie, everything just kind of winds up askew.